This program is fan-generated. If you'd like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your supports are greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Our guest this evening, Steve Emerson, the Executive Director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism. And tonight we are discussing Obama versus U.S. victims of Palestinian terror. But there's a question mark at the end of that, and Mr. Emerson is going to tell us why. Steve Emerson, welcome to the Glazov Gang.
Good to be with you, Jamie. I might expand just to say that it's not just Obama versus the victims of Palestinian terrorism, but Obama versus the victims of Iranian terrorism as well.
Absolutely. So, Steve, let's begin. Tell our viewers a bit about this case and now recently how the DOJ has indicated it will intervene.
In an unprecedented ruling in February of this year, a judge ruled against the PLO in the matter of the case of at least 12 terrorist victims killed by the PLO over the course of a 20-year period, awarded the plaintiffs more than $1 billion and another $1.5 billion in penalties. This was an unprecedented level of judgment against the PLO, and something that no one had expected in light of the fact that in previous years, the U.S. government had blocked any such payments on other procedural grounds.
Okay, fantastic. And now the Obama administration, the DOJ specifically, has indicated it might intervene in the case, and I don't think, many observers don't think that it's going to be on behalf of the families, that it'll probably be on behalf of the Palestinian terrorists.
Well, in fact, it looks that way. We don't know for sure, but it was a very unusual move by the Department of Justice on July 27th when they notified the court that they intend to submit a motion to intervene. And usually, based on previous behavior, that would indicate that they intend to block the payment of the award to the plaintiffs, just as they have blocked the payment of more than $12 billion of awards to the victims of more than 200 victims of Iranian terrorism since 1983.
And why would they do that?
Well, that's a very interesting question. The ostensible reason that the U.S. government has given, and by the way, this has gone on way before Obama, so it would not be fair to say that this is just an Obama administration policy. This has been a consistent policy by the U.S. government on the basis that it feared reciprocity, that the Iranian government or any other foreign government would do the same to U.S. government assets. But that really didn't hold up much because the court ruled that this government, the Iranian government, was a rogue government, and that terrorism was a finite, had a finite definition, and that definition included acts of terrorism against innocent victims for political purposes. And the judge dared the U.S. government to apply that to any action by the U.S. government itself.
So Steve, I mean, Iranians are taking American lives, Palestinians are taking American lives, and many other innocent lives. We have an administration that is blocking and trying to block compensation and just in general respect to these families and defending our enemies and the enemies of Israel, of Western civilization. How do we figure this?
Well, let's lay it out very clearly. More than 450 Americans were killed in Iraq by Iranian IEDs in the last 5 years. They have blood on their hands. Yet the Iranian Al-Quds Force and the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, the two principal military terrorist arms of Iran, which were responsible for planting and building those IEDs and killing those Americans, were taken off the sanctions list and basically exonerated on the basis of this arrangement with Iran. Only those entities that had something to do with nuclear energy were supposed to be desanctioned. But in an act of appeasement, these two terrorist entities that have blood on their hands of more than thousands of Israelis, Americans, and Europeans were taken off the list It's something that was so morally reprehensible, I can't even describe it. And when you add to that fact that this last summer in 1994, a senior Hamas commander who was given safe haven in Turkey, Salah Aruri, openly admitted that he arranged the killing of the 3 Israeli teens, including an American Israeli teen, which is against the 1994 counterterrorist law. The U.S. government did absolutely nothing, even though the FBI, I know for a fact, in Washington, tried to initiate extradition proceedings against Mr. Aruri in Turkey for the killing of an American in accordance with American counterterrorism law, but the State Department issued a veto over that and gave Mr. Aruri essentially clemency.
Thank you, Steve. Now, this case that's been ruled on behalf of the American victims and their families, there are some people that say this is such a large amount, it actually might devastate the Palestinian Authority financially. And this is something that the Obama administration does not want to happen.
Well, let me say 2 things about that. The PLO has amassed an underground covert empire probably worth more than $5 billion. Yasser Arafat himself was one of the most corrupt dictators and terrorists in the world. The PLO empire includes export-import stores in more than 120 airports around the world. They have stores in Europe. They have factories in Bangladesh. They are at least worth $5 billion, if not more. Number 2, they are the only entity in the world that receives more than $2.5 billion a year from countries around the world, mostly in the West, and do not have to provide one penny worth of receipts to show what they spent it on. In other words, they get it free of charge, and it all goes to corruption.
And it's also a terrorist organization. It's also a death cult.
Well, in fact, the money that the PLO gets is spent, a third of the money that the PLO gets is spent on providing support for terrorists in Israeli prisons that have killed hundreds of Israelis. This is the entity that the United States wants Israel to negotiate with as the basis of an equal peace partner. It's a country that continues to name squares, intersections, buildings after notorious terrorists that have killed dozens and dozens of Israelis in the most murderous, horrific ways possible. It is a culture of death that they promote. And yet somehow this country, under Obama, is more oblivious to this incitement than any other president in U.S. history.
Or perhaps it knows what's going on, but doing something very intentionally and destructively. Steve, we just got a minute left. What would you like our viewers, when they walk away from this show, to have on their mind?
I think the American people have to wake up to the fact that we have entered a phase of American politics that is the most scurrilous and morally reprehensible in U.S. history, with a president who sees radical Islam as an ally, as an entity, as a force that should be allied with the United States, rather than as an enemy that should be destroyed. Ironically, it is the Muslim Arab states of the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt that have taken more principled moral positions against radical Islam than the United States. And that's evidenced not only by U.S. foreign policy, but by the fact that this president has legitimized and invited hundreds of members of the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas into the White House, the Department of State, Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice. It is historically unprecedented, and it creates a pattern for which we will pay the lives of Americans, Israelis, Europeans for years and years to come.
Steve Emerson, thank you for being such a hero and such a courageous truth teller in the West today. Thank you for all that you do at the Investigative Project.
Thank you, Jamie.
And thank you for being on the Glazov Gang. Everybody, go to the Investigative Project on Terrorism and check out all the wonderful, great work that Steve Emerson is doing to defend America and defend Western civilization. Steve, we'll see you again soon.
You bet.
Thank you. And thank you for joining the Glazov Gang. Make sure to support us at jamieglazov.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next edition of the Glazov Gang. Good night.